Shemai, Siddachi, Croeso Chris, Dewey, what is cracking, ladies, gents, boys and girls, anyone who is anyone. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back. My name is Chris, and on today's episode of Poundland Page Turners, we are talking about Snowfall Over Halesmere House, written by Suzanne Snow, fitting name, and published by the good old Canelo. And the whole point of this series is basically, if you went into Poundland, you saw a book in the book section, obviously where else would it be, it'll say £1.50, generally speaking. Is it worth that £1.50? Is that book worth your money? Because £1.50 for a book is honestly a steal, but you know, if a book really isn't worth £1.50, it has to be a stinker. So is this book worth your money? And you're gonna have to watch on to find out, ladies and gents. But before we continue, I just wanted to say sorry for this video being so late. You know, it was meant to come out round about the day after Boxing Day, but I got caught up in all the festivities. This has been my first Christmas not working, so it is actually quite nice to have an extended break. That said, feel free to leave any New Year's resolutions in the comments section. Heck, tell me what Santa got you for Christmas, that would be pretty cool. And whilst you're down there, feel free to like and subscribe. Things you don't want to hear in the bedroom. So let's actually talk about Snowfall Over Halesmere House. This bad boy was published back in 2022, and it has about 308 pages. There are more pages, but there are acknowledgements and whatnot. The cover itself is actually beautiful. I'm under the assumption it's a representation of Halesmere House. It's like an estate. It's a very fancy house, but you're not going to be able to tell from like a flat JPEG. There is actually glitter on like some of the snow on the trees and on the text, the title I mean. It's a beautiful cover. You flip it around and there's a continuation of the landscape, the snowy landscape on the back of the book. Honestly, Canelo outdid themselves with this cover. And yeah, this cover is, chef's kiss. It is such a lovely cover. It's sort of like that weird glittery effect that you get with Christmas decorations. It's like purple, there's pink to it. It's such a nice cover. Now we're going to make like a bop it and flip it to find out what this bad boy says on the back of the book. Now it says, welcome to Halesmere House, where romance might be just around the corner, ... ellipses. After years of living in the past, Ella is ready to start building a future. The perfect opportunity presents itself when she is offered a short-term role at Halesmere House in the Lake District, and tasked with kick-starting its artist's residence. She can explore a new career in an inspiring location. When Ella arrives at Halesmere House, she wonders if she's made a huge mistake after she clashes with Max, the owner. Max has his own reasons to be unsettled by Ella's presence, but despite his misgivings, it seems everyone else loves having Ella around. As a single dad, it's his children's attachment to her that bothers him most. Who will pick up the pieces when Ella leaves? What Max doesn't know is that Ella is falling for more than just the beautiful place, his money. Including the people in it, Max's money. Can her temporary job lead to a permanent happy ending? A tender and uplifting Christmas read. Now the back of the book really does summarize the story, except, you know, the first real paragraph, and it says, after years of living in the past, Ella is ready to start building a future. Honestly, the only part when that actually seems to come up, it feels like a throwaway comment Ella makes to Max to sort of get sympathy. That said, let's actually talk about Ella and Max, the two main characters of this book. So from what I can remember, neither characters are actually, their appearances aren't really described, so I'm gonna put a picture of how I'd imagine Ella to look like now. And I'm going to put a picture of how I'd imagine Max to look like now. And that said, there wasn't really much character development for both characters. Both characters really just stayed the same from the start to the finish. Ella's there to kickstart the artist's residence, and really she just sort of fulfills the role of nanny. Whilst Max's his job is basically daddy with money. That's about it. And what I'm saying is that our main characters just seem kind of crap. There's like nothing to them. There's no development. They're just sort of there to get together, and that's about it. And the same really goes for the story, because at the end of the day, the story just seems to be like empty calories, empty pages. It's just justification for the two characters to get together, but you're reading 308 pages of it. Like there aren't like trials and tribulations. There aren't any like challenges the characters have to engage with. They're just going about the day-to-day lives throughout the entire story. And the romance between Max and Ella just feels kind of forced. It felt more like Ella was using Max's children to sort of slime her way into the family to get at his money. Like, I'm guessing this is a particular like sort of flavor of romance where, you know, people who enjoy this flavor will enjoy it. You know, the peasant girl gets with Prince Charming, saves the day, whatever, you know, happy ever after. It's just, to me, it's not very compelling, it's not very interesting, you know. I read all pages, but I didn't really enjoy reading it, because at the end of the day, you just sat there chewing on empty pages. Like, at one point, the kids go missing, missing, but Ella quickly finds them in a like artist's shed, barn, whatever, like on the next page, and it's like, well, it's not really a big thing then, is it? And then by the time you sort of click that it just feels like Ella's using Max's kids to get into his family, it just sort of takes away from the romantic interactions the two characters actually have towards the end of the book. And I personally don't find the relationship believable because of the extents that these hyper wealthy families go to stop their money going to poor people. The same way that my mum sat me down when I was a kid and said, look son, there are some sorts of girls that you just don't want to mingle with when you're older. I can only imagine that Max's mum, Noelle, the French stereotype, sat him down and said, look Max, there's some sort of girls who are too poor to mingle with when you're older. And that's hinted at in like a throwaway comment Max makes to Ella towards the end. And that's sort of it. Like, it just feels, the story feels weird for existing. Ella as a character could have done so much more. She could have brought so much more to the table. She could have been more than just a maid, just a nanny. She could have, you know, helped turn like the landscape into this fantastic sort of playground artistic thing for children maybe with special needs. Maybe one of Max's kids could have had like, I don't know, something with them where they, you know, they like sensory things, they like sensory toys kind of thing, and Ella could have made like a cool playground and gotten the paper for supporting children of learning. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, Ella could have had such a bigger impact on Max's life, and then he could have been eternally grateful, and then all this tenderness for the kids and all that could have brought the two together. But what you have really is just Ella sliming her way into his family through the kids. Like, at one point Max basically, he breaks it to Ella that his wife passed away due to the big C. Now the big C isn't me, it's not the swear word, it's the big C that I don't want to say out loud personally, because I want to pretend that it doesn't exist, right? So Max's wife has passed away, and Ella's reaction seems to be more of like, oh, at least the bed's still warm then, oi oi. And that behaviour just seems alien to me, like, it's just weird. And maybe a human and sincere reaction is drip-fed to us throughout the next few paragraphs, but honestly, it's just such, like, it's not an engaging read. You just sort of gloss over, your eyes go glazy, and you just sort of zone out whilst reading the book because it's not engaging, it's not interesting, there aren't things going on, you're just watching these two people make awkward conversation and unrealistic conversation in a cafe somewhere. And I'm writing a romance right now, it's on the back burner, you know, it's something I dabble with when I get bored. It's something that I'd like to actually have out in the world at some point, but I can't help but feel as if my interactions are better because they feel human, they feel unique, they're inspired by actual interactions and engagements I have with real people. Like, there are so many opportunities to do cool stuff in this book, and it's just squandered. There's nothing, it's like, oof, you're wasting, oh man, there's so many empty pages, and it's like, just do something, like, do something cool. Instead of having like Ella as this weird self-insert and Max as like your future husbando, actually give them personality, actually give them flavour, make them people, make them organic. But alas, my biggest complaint with this book is just, it's just page after page of like emptiness. The characters are flat and one-dimensional. Nothing really happens in the story. It's just justification for these two characters to get together, and even then their relationship doesn't feel natural. And Suzanne Snow's a fantastic writer. I just don't know what happened here. Like, the writing is great, it just doesn't say anything. It's like reading replies on Reddit. It's just like, you could say something in 4 words, but instead you sent 4 paragraphs. This is the first in the series, apparently, according to Goodreads, and I'm going to talk about Goodreads in a sec, but I'm not going to touch the next few books because I don't want to, because of this one. Am I missing out on the best read of my life? I don't know, and I don't really care. And you go on Goodreads and it's full of good reviews, but then everyone's like, oh yeah, I was given a free book. And it's like, well, you know, your review's going to be biased then, isn't it? With such a good cover, the story, you'd expect it to be better than it is. And maybe this particular flavour of romance is something that people enjoy, you know, peasant girl meets Prince Charming, and, you know, that's their bread and potatoes, that's what they have for breakfast, lunch, whatever, all their meals of the day. But for me, it's just, I find it really difficult to engage with it because I don't really care. But I can understand that this is probably a particular type of romance that people do like, and that's why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars on my Goodreads, because at the end of the day, although I don't particularly like the story, I can appreciate that there are people who do like the story who weren't given free copies. But that is probably about it, guys, because at the end of the day, it just feels like I'm ranting into a microphone. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. Realistic, it should be probably 2.5. Is the book worth your £1.50? And I'm going to say no, guys. You're not going to be missing out. The cover is beautiful. It's honestly, mwah, chef's kiss. Beautiful cover. Canelo outdid themselves. It's just the contents. It's a boring read. Suzanne Snow, fantastic writer. Cannot fault her writing in this book. The writing is actually really good. It just feels as if the story lacks direction, and as a result, it's just like a dawdle in the park. It goes nowhere, and it goes nowhere particularly fast. That's about it for the book. You know, two and a half out of 5 stars. And is it worth your money? No, honestly, man. If you want a really pretty book, then maybe, yeah, put it on your shelf for Christmas. But generally speaking, you're not going to be missing out if you don't read this book. I am sure there are better romance books out there. A Very Merry Manhattan Christmas, Moi, Chef's Kiss, fantastic book. And Together in Lilac, well, that book's good. Along with the other 2 books, I think it's in a trilogy, they're probably pretty good. But yeah, that's like, this is going to be like a temporary end to the Poundland Page Turner series, because I physically can't get into town to get more books, and honestly, although I could go down on my crutches, I wouldn't feel safe doing so. So I don't really know what I'm going to do, because that's where I've been getting my books for a while, and now I don't really have anything to read. So I suppose that means I could start talking about books, maybe 4chan books again, that'd be cool. Or I could just start reading books that I'd pick up off a shelf anyway and read them, and maybe give reviews about that. But as it stands, I don't really know. I'm going to spend maybe the next week or 2 just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. So if you're still watching, I just want to say thank you very much. I want to ask you something. If I did videos maybe on horror books, would you be interested in that? After writing a horror book myself, you know, it's just something I have an appreciation for. I do thoroughly enjoy horror, and I like reading it. It's a good genre to read. Or maybe gaming content, because I do thoroughly enjoy gaming. Either way, I'm gonna have to love you and leave you guys. We are gonna smash 2024. Me and you, whatever you've got planned for this year, I'm sure you're gonna do such a good job, my guys. Burgers and fries, we've got this year in the bag. So without further ado, guys, take care. Remember to live, laugh, love. As always, you've lost the game, and ta-ra.